And now, around the world and around the corner, it's the David Bowers Awards, bringing the best in indie music to millions of listeners worldwide with your host, the David Bowers. We've got a fantastic lineup of guests, as well as our engineer extraordinaire, Nick the Geek, our entire crew here at the Asylum, and me. I'm John Bon Jovial. And now, here's the voice of indie music, the David Bowers.
Thank you very much there, the legendary John Bon Jovial, folks, and thank you very much for joining us once again for another The David Bowers Awards, an hour of music and talk with the artists who make them. We've got a couple of great new indie artists with us this week, a couple of artists who've never been with us before, brand new artists who, of course, have brand new music for us, and we're going to be starting that in just a few minutes. First, we're going to go with, a previous guest who has a new album out, and it's kind of an interesting thing, too. The artist is Yoyo XNO, and they were on, I don't know, maybe a year or two ago. And, we never talked about how they got their name. Yoyo XNO, which on the face of it doesn't make any sense. They started out about 2011 as a duo, deciding to make music together and use the name Yoyo. They were going to call themselves Yoyo. Okay, that's simple enough. However, they found out there's already a band with that name, and to avoid confusion and make it more logical, they decided to adjust the name. Rather than create a new name, they just decided to amend the name they were already using because they'd already, become known in their area. So instead of calling themselves Yo-Yo, they changed it to Yoyo XNO. And the X stands for kiss, the N for and, the O for a hug. So it's like yo-yo, hug, and kiss. Or I should say kiss and hug. And coincidentally, that's the name of their new album, Kiss and Hug, X and O. So here they are. This is called Countryside from their album Kiss and Hug, or X and O. Here's Yoyo X and O.
Countryside, putting all my issues far aside, getting all my senses purified, destination unspecified. Oh, won't you come along? I'm going to the countryside, where Mr. Stress commits suicide. And if you want, we'll give him cyanide. And we will chill and stay unoccupied. Oh, won't you come along? Having a wonderful day in the country, having the most splendid time, having a wonderful day in the country. Every second's yours and mine. We're going to the countryside, curiosity running wild, getting our souls fortified with all the happy things it will provide. Won't you come along? Having a wonderful day in the country, having the most splendid time, having a wonderful day in the country. Every second's yours and mine. Oh, having a wonderful day in the country, most splendid time. Having a wonderful day in the country. Every second's yours and mine.
This is Billy Alexander from the band Why Not, and I'm listening to the David Bowers Awards on Blog Talk Radio. Why? Because all the cool kids are doing it.
And there you have it. That's Countryside. They call themselves Yoyo X&O, and that's from their brand new album, Kiss and Hug, otherwise known as X&O. You could look for it later this month. It'll be coming out a little bit later, the month of September. If you're listening to this at its original time, it'll be September of 2019. So look for it. Kiss and Hug by Yoyo X&O. And right now, we are getting ready for our first guest here on the show. That is always an award show, because, well, isn't everything an award show now? Well, that makes each of our guests award winners. We want to thank our house band, Titty Bingo, for providing our theme music every week, and we're looking forward to having them back in the not-too-far-distant future. But in the meantime, you can check out their Texas brand of rock and roll online at tittybingo.com. Remember, it's always time to play Titty Bingo. We also want to say hello and salute Mary Perry, accredited disability representative in Rochester, New York, who underwrites the David Bowers Awards on WRFZ FM 106.3 Rochester Free Radio. So if you're checking around on the broadcast stations, that's our flagship station, WRFZ in Rochester, New York, Rochester Free Radio. So remember also that we let you help us pick our award winners. If you know of someone or some group that has done something exceedingly good or exceedingly stupid, music-related, drop us a line. You can mail us at David at TheDavidBowersAwards. I'm sorry, I'm not reading my cue cards today. Let's try that again. David at TheDavidBowers.com. Okay, there you go. And put awards in the subject line. Tell us who you think is deserving of an award and why. And we'll check it over and maybe we'll use it right here on the show. John Bon Jovial, you're sitting there very quiet since the introduction. How are things in John Bon Jovial land?
Well, you know, seeing as I'm sitting here quiet like a church mouse, squeak, squeak.
Yes, that kind
John
of
Bon
me.
Jovial land is just trucking right along. You know, we are making the transition from summertime here in Southwest Florida into summertime here in Southwest Florida, because after all, we do have summer about 10 and a half months of the year.
Yeah, so let's see, that would work out. Never mind.
You know, seeing as it's September and it's approaching the middle of September now, we are looking at peak hurricane season here for the southwestern portion of Florida, all of Florida for that matter. The Caribbean basin, things really start heating up this time of year. Of course, everybody knows what happened to the Bahamas, and, you know, our prayers do go out to them that they will be able to make a recovery, and a good and speedy recovery. But, you know, we're always a little nervous this time of year because things do start to fire up in the Atlantic basin and head our way. And, you know, we have thoughts and nightmares, if you will, of Hurricane Irma a couple of years ago, hoping, of course, that never, ever, ever happens again. Hate to see it happen to anybody. But, yeah, that's kind of the transition period that we're in here right now. And I know that things are starting to change a little bit for you out in the desert, maybe cooling off just slightly.
Absolutely. Well, we call it cooling off. Anybody else would call it less hot. We've actually finally started getting under the 100 mark. I mean, not only under the 110s, but we're down under 100. This morning when I rolled out of bed, it was something like 83, which, and I have to get the woolies out here pretty soon if that keeps up. But
the park is
we are definitely enjoying that. Heat of the summer is pretty much over. We'll get a few more days in the 10s, but I think we've seen the last of the real heat, and anytime it gets over 108, we get a heat warning. So from there up, that's when it's really considered hot. And if you live out here, you marvel at the fact that the locals start talking about it cooling off when it gets below 108. So by that measurement, it is definitely cooling off out here now.
Yeah, break out the pumpkin spice lattes.
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, it is just about time for that. And we've even had a little rain, although this year was a very dry. They don't call it a monsoon this year. They're referring to it as the non-soon because we didn't get much. However, we are going to get much more music coming up right now as we go to our first guest.
Pockets. Can I count on you? If I lost it, do that here, and you can't come back. Come back. Can't do that here. Help me run down. All the walks I towed the line, and all the dogs with trespass signs do that here, and you can't come back. Come back. You can't do that here.
And there you have it. That's Can't Come Back by a group who call themselves Ambulance. And here to talk with us right now is a man of the day. This is Richie. Come on in and say hello, Richie.
Hi, hello, America. This is Richie Lambert from Ambulance, wishing you all the best from our rock and roll state down here in Surrey, south of London.
Oh, fantastic. We're glad to hear from you. We've had some really interesting bands from London, and we can now add Ambulance to the list of